Fright Before Christmas is definitely a very interesting take on the poem The Night Before Christmas. This was released in 1979. Originally, it was released as part of Bugs Bunny's Looney Christmas Tales. It's the third of 3 cartoons that were in that, and I absolutely adored it in that. On its own as well, it's a lot of fun. This was directed by Freleng, and we have Blanc voicing, of course, Bugs Bunny. And he also voices the Tasmanian devil and Speedy Gonzales. Speedy Gonzales is in it very briefly, and it's one of the most iconic scenes from my childhood where the narrator says, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse, and Speedy Gonzales says something along the lines of, I'm stirring and I am a mouse. And I remember that so vividly from my childhood, and watching it back now just brought me chills. I absolutely loved it. Foray also voices the very adorable Clyde Rabbit, who is Bugs Bunny's nephew, and he is precious. Absolutely adorable. Clyde Rabbit has to rush off to bed because Santa Claus has arrived. But it's not Santa Claus. It actually is Taz. And I won't say how that comes to be. I don't want to spoil it too much. But Taz then enters Bugs Bunny's house, and Bugs Bunny kind of get the impression that Bugs is not 100% convinced that this is not the real Santa Claus. But he decides to read out his nephew's Christmas list to him anyway, and I absolutely find that hilarious. The things that are on the nephew's list, absolutely brilliant, and very realistic for what a lot of children will put on their Christmas lists as well. He tries to get Taz something to eat. That doesn't necessarily go to plan, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it because Taz is kind of oblivious to what's going on. Taz doesn't really know what Christmas is or who Santa Claus is, of course. So it's definitely a very interesting experience for both characters, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, the voice acting is brilliant. It's very well animated. The narrative is beautiful. It's definitely inspired by The Night Before Christmas, rather than being a direct interpretation of the lyrics of the poem A Night Before Christmas. But I had a lot of fun watching it. As I said, there were elements of nostalgia here for me that I really strongly remembered from my childhood. Watching it back now as an adult just gave me chills. But even if I hadn't seen it before, for example, a lot of the discourse between Taz and Bugs, I couldn't remember. That didn't have any nostalgic elements for me because I couldn't remember it. But those bits I still really thoroughly enjoyed. If you're a fan of Warner Brothers, absolutely worth watching. I thoroughly recommend that you check it out as part of Bugs Bunny's Looney Christmas Tales. But even on its own, Fright Before Christmas is an absolute delight.